Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Amy. Happy New Year's Eve if you're watching this the day that I post this. In this video, I am going to be sharing all about a new frequency that is coming onto the planet now, and who this frequency is coming to, like who is meant to work with this, what this frequency is like, and how we're going to be working with this. So sometime this year, in 2025, a new frequency started coming to Earth and reaching out to this particular soul collective I'm connecting with. So I have set the intention that this video reaches people who are in this soul collective, who this message is for. And everything I'm sharing with you in this video has been channeled through me this year. So I've kind of been waiting for a while to share this message because I've been receiving messages all throughout the year. And I'm really excited to share this with you as we're closing out 2025. And I know that I am meant to connect with this particular soul collective because we have all incarnated here at the same time to help with this shift with the Earth ascending from 3D consciousness into 5D consciousness. So I'm going to share a little bit about this collective to see if you resonate with any of this, and so you know that this message is for you. So Spirit is also telling me to share that even if you don't see yourself in this collective, on this channel, I'm going to be connecting with several different collectives. So if this message doesn't resonate with you, definitely come back in the new year. I'm going to be sharing more videos, kind of switching things up a little bit and expanding the messages that I'm sharing with some different collectives. Okay, so for this message in this video, this collective that I am connecting with, you are a very, very old soul. You know this intuitively. And you probably identify as a starseed. So you know that your original incarnation was not in this star system, so on Earth. That your soul originally incarnated in a different star system. And as a very old soul, you have been incarnating many, many lifetimes in many different places all over the universe. And you are one of the original light workers. So in your different incarnations, you have always been helping raise the vibration wherever you go. And your ultimate soul mission was to help the Earth elevate into 5D consciousness. And you incarnated at this particular time purposefully because this is the time of the Great Awakening, the Great Shift, as we are moving towards creating the new Earth. This is your ultimate soul mission. This is the incarnation that your soul ultimately came into existence for. Okay, so this is all channeled messages that I've been receiving this year. So you play a very big role in helping the Earth and humanity raise their vibration and shift into 5D consciousness. Something unique about this collective, and this is where I think you'll really know if this message is for you, is you feel very comfortable accessing both, and you also resonate with both, like cosmic ideas like angels and ascended masters, galactic beings, even like fantastical kind of beings like dragons and unicorns, but you're also equally like connected to or feel comfortable with, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like you're drawn to earth-based spirituality. So maybe things like witchcraft or shamanism, maybe pagan practices, and spiritual beings associated with Earth, and specifically like the Fae and like the plant kingdom and elementals. So you feel like you have kind of one foot in both worlds much of the time, and you just resonate. That's the word I was looking for. You resonate with the energies in many different things. Like I said, the galactic, the earth, very different energies, but you feel comfortable flowing between the two. And because you've had so many different incarnations in different places, you can relate to beings and environments that are very vastly different. So the fact specifically that you are comfortable with earth magic it's key to this frequency, because what you're doing is you're bringing in this high dimensional frequency, but you're anchoring it into the earth, which is helping the earth with her own, Mother Earth, with her own ascension process, as well as helping humanity elevate their consciousness. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So you are both an anchor for this frequency and a way shower. So if that resonates with you, then this is your message. You're part of this collective. The other thing is that your lifetime here, this time on Earth, the challenges that you've gone through, they have prepared you for how you are going to be asked to show up in this time of transition. So as we shift from 3D to 5D, it's going to be very challenging. And a lot of people aren't going to understand what's happening. And, anytime we go through enormous change, it can be really difficult. And there can be upheaval and chaos and, different things happen as systems have to change. So as things end, it can cause confusion and fear and anxiety. And that is one of the things that the challenges you have faced in this lifetime have prepared you to help others through this transition period. So you're not only here to raise the vibration, you're very much in like the 3D part of just the day-to-day helping others, being of service to others is going to be a big part of what you do. But you are a very old soul. You have had so many incarnations. You bring in gifts and abilities from all your lifetimes. You are a multidimensional being, and you are very equipped to do this work. So it's kind of like you have a trifold sort of mission here. So anchoring this frequency into Mother Earth, raising your own vibration to help be a creator of the new earth, because we create from our vibration, and also being a way shower for others and just being a support, a person of service, a beacon of light, basically, for others. In the last few years, so this is another thing that you will be able to recognize yourself as part of this collective. The last few years have been a time of enormous transformation for you. So you may have had a lot of endings of various things. It's different for each of us. So you may have had relationships that have ended, or a career, or just some kind of like massive change. And you probably have gone through a period where you kind of feel like you're in this in-between, like a kind of a hermit mode, or just kind of feeling stagnant. And this was on purpose. This was to really get you prepared and your physical vessel more than anything. So you may have gone through like shadow work and just a lot of personal development. All of that is part of this. But a big part of it has also been preparing your physical vessel to be able to hold these higher frequency energies. So your light body has been upgraded during this time. So you may have also had some physical challenges through this time. And so that's another way for you to know if you're part of this collective. So now I want to talk about exactly what this frequency is. So this frequency originates from a higher dimension, And I'm going to describe it using words that you're familiar with. So it's not going to sound like something new. But the difference with this frequency is these are attributes that most people do not actually embody. So we're familiar with them, and I'm going to talk about them in just a minute, but they're not ones that people really embody, and especially at this particular time. Another reason is that this frequency, so this is something that I channeled, and I don't exactly know how this works, but what I understand is that this frequency contains codes that align with the codes that you have already been receiving. So that's something else that you've been receiving in the last, especially the last year, like light codes. And the light codes from this frequency come into resonance with the light codes in your body that you have already received. So it's kind of like a tuning fork. You know how when the tuning fork sounds, it comes into resonance with another tuning fork if it's at the same frequency. And that's what's happening. And what that is doing is it's awakening this ability that we have to embody this frequency and work with it. So the basis of this frequency is love. So that should be no surprise, because the basis of all high frequency energy is love. But this frequency is specifically aligned with Christ consciousness, which is basically unconditional love and acceptance and forgiveness. And the specific aspect of Christ consciousness that this frequency aligns with is the divine feminine. So Christ consciousness is the perfect union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, but this energy, this frequency really taps into the divine feminine aspect. And that is something that we need to bring into everything we create, because the overdominance of the masculine energy that is rooted in the systems that we've been under for thousands of years, these systems of oppression that have been built on a predominance of, or an overdominance of the masculine energy. In order for us to change what we have now, we need more of that divine feminine. So that is a big part of this frequency. This frequency also kind of has a core to it. So the unconditional love, Christ consciousness, is the base of this frequency. But the very specific sort of like core attributes are joy, innocence, playfulness, creativity, imagination, wonder, awe, and magic. If that's not enough adjectives for you. But these are all specific words that I've received this year describing this energy that I was being called to embody and to share with you as this collective that I'm supposed to be connecting with, that this is something that this collective sort of has a natural affinity for. But just generally speaking, it's not something that most people embody. And the reason is that this frequency is the pure, divine, creative spark of limitless potential that we all incarnated here with, but gets conditioned out of us due to just living this human story. So, you know, this energy, it carries the kind of feelings of like hope and excitement and exhilaration, and just this unwavering belief in the power of love and joy to create magic and miracles. I know it's like super aspirational. And if I had to come up with like one word or like a little phrase to really encapsulate this energy, it would be inner child energy. So, you know, it's just the feelings that you associate with children in a lot of ways. It's like the innocent, optimistic belief that we can create something good, and that there is goodness in people still, there's goodness in the world, we can make changes, positive changes. And, this is something that has been lost. And I mean, all you have to do is look around the world and talk to people. And there is a lot of, from what I can see, a lot of people who are feeling hopeless and feeling fearful and anxious about the future. And as a spiritual being, that being in that kind of energy only creates more of what we are already seeing. And you know in your soul that in order to create something new, and this idea of the new earth and 5D consciousness, which is based on peace and harmony, all those things that we associate with the new earth and 5D living, that has to be created by us. And we need to embody a vibration before we can create things. So you understand that the way things are created, like what we are in now, the frequency that we are in now is what creates tomorrow, metaphorically. So everything that we see now has been created from a lower vibration. The 3D consciousness level of vibration has caused everything that we currently see. And you understand that in order to see peace and love and like unity consciousness, that needs to be created now from the energy that is embodied now. And that's going to create something new in the future. So that is a big part of this. And to tap into this frequency is to lose all fear and see things only from the perspective of love. And this is super, super challenging right now, especially because we're such a technologically connected world, and with social media and just news being constantly around us, and so many people are talking about the problems of the world all the time. It's really hard to be different and to not get caught up in the story of where we are and how things are, and to see things differently. But to create this new earth, we need to have a fifth dimensional perspective. Like our consciousness needs to be somewhere else, not in the 3D. And this is a frequency that the new human is here to embody and to create from. And this frequency is obviously very much part of that. So embodying this frequency does several things. It expands your heart space and your light body. So it makes it easier. It gives you a bigger capacity to love. So even if you feel like that's something that you've struggled with, I know if you're here, in this collective, you have a big heart, absolutely. You're loving and you're kind and you're compassionate, but there still may have been certain people and certain circumstances that felt like it was really hard to open your heart. But I bet that one of the major gifts that you came here with is the ability to see the good in others. I know that is something that resonates very deeply with me and has made it hard for me sometimes to communicate with other people and share that kind of idea, because a lot of people don't see that. They're like, how can you see the good in somebody who is evil? But this is what I'm talking about. This is like this way of being different that we're being asked to show up as. We need to really sort of put some blinders on with what's going on in the world currently and not get so embroiled in this 3D world. So it's, that idea of being in the world but not of it. Because you recognize that you have this particular mission, and in order to create the new earth, we need to be in this vibration of love and forgiveness and acceptance, and the belief that this is going to make a difference. So I'm getting a little bit off track there. But the other things that embodying this frequency does is it uplifts everyone you touch, and it elevates the frequency of everything you come in contact with. So it has this like ripple effect. And this is what's happening as more and more people are awakening. We're all like supporting one another, and the vibration is not only helping people on an individual level, but the more people who awaken, the more the vibrations of each other comes in resonance. I hope that makes sense. So we're raising the collective consciousness, and this is speeding up because there's more and more people who are awakening. And 2026 and beyond, there's going to be many people awakening and having like spontaneous awakenings and having a much shorter window of the awakening process. So we're always awakening and going through multiple awakenings, but people are going to be awakening faster and not taking quite as long to raise their vibration. So that's something else that we are going to be able to help people and guide people with. So embodying this frequency also is going to help you communicate with other beings. So, you know, one of the hallmarks of 5D consciousness is being able to communicate telepathically. So there will be a strengthening in your psychic abilities and your abilities to communicate with your spirit team and really all different kinds of consciousness, all different kinds of conscious beings, I should say. And it generates a limitless possibility for what can be created from this frequency. So this is a frequency of just, you know, when we really tap into it and live from it, like having that childlike attitude or perspective that anything is possible. You know, kids live in their imagination and they create these worlds, and that may be something that you identify with too. Like as a child, you may have spent a lot of time in your imagination and dreaming up different worlds, and it's something that you still do from time to time, or you can if you let yourself tap into it. And each of us is going to use this frequency differently in our day-to-day lives. So you may be someone who's very creative, and maybe you will get back into just creating beautiful art and just expressing your higher vibration through everything you do. So it doesn't have to be anything, you know, like art or any kind of big thing you put out into the world. It's more how you show up. And again, like really being intentional with how you are participating in the world. Like maybe kind of taking a step back and being more deliberate as the way you see yourself as a creator of the new world, and not so much participating in the 3D world. And that's really difficult because you still have to work and you still have family and friends who probably don't get this. But you can come up with ways, and I've talked about this before, and I'll probably continue to talk about this a little bit, of like how to be a 5D new human in the 3D, because we're still very much in this 3D reality, and it's not something that shifts in one. This is what I've gotten anyway. I know there's different opinions on this, but my understanding is that there isn't going to be like this one moment where everything switches and we're in 5D. So that's another whole subject, the whole like split. I'm sure you've heard before. My understanding is the 3D is dissolving as the 5D is arising. And there's going to be a long period of time where we are having access to both. And as somebody who is very much aware of your 5D being and your 5D perspective, it's going to be a little bit, discombobulating, because you're having to kind of manage being in the 3D world while still trying to have the perspective of 5D consciousness. So it's definitely going to be something challenging, and I'll be talking more about that in future videos. So let me get back to my notes here. And I wanted to give you a little visual, just kind of for fun. So if you're a visual person, you will appreciate this. If not, you may think this is a little bit strange. But I see energy as like color and different like visual features. And I just thought this might help give this energy like a little bit of flavor, so you can kind of really understand what this energy feels like from another perspective. So I see this energy in certain colors. So I see this energy as pastel, pink, yellow, and like aqua. So these colors are something that, like a group of colors, I have been drawn to for the longest time. So quick little side story. Before I was doing this, I was a papercraft artist, and my whole like branding was based on those three colors. And I loved working with those colors. I was always drawn to anything that had that combination of colors. They just, I don't know, they just light me up. And those colors exemplify this frequency. And I see them as just very kind of soft and ephemeral and flowing, and it's kind of a fast flowing energy. And I know this is like really, really strange. Just hearing myself describe this is really weird, but hopefully you'll appreciate this. I think anybody here would probably recognize themselves in these kinds of ways of talking, okay? So the other part of the colors and this visual is these pastel colors are on a bright white background that is kind of iridescent. And throughout these colors are like millions of tiny little sparkling lights, like little tiny stars. Stars are another, I've got stars on my necklace here. I love anything that has stars. That is something else that started coming to me years ago when I was crafting. I loved putting stars in anything that I was making. And, I'm sure you've realized as you've gone through your spiritual journey that spirit gives you breadcrumbs. You can go back and look at how things that you've gone through were intentional and to get you to either learn certain things about yourself or just to kind of get you where you needed to be on your spiritual journey, your life journey. And sometimes we're given breadcrumbs and like a sneak preview, like way in advance. And so this whole like fascination with these colors and being drawn, like my soul is like drawn to these colors. I love anything that is sparkly and iridescent and pastel. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about this energy in just a second. Mainly that it's kind of tied to fantasy realms. So if you resonate with dragons, unicorns, mermaids, and the fae and elementals, like I mentioned earlier, like not just spirit animals, but these beings that we're taught are just fantasy beings. The reason why most people don't really see them as real is because they exist in very high dimensions, and they're not dimensions that most of us are regularly coming into contact with. Well, that's all changing now. And as we move into 5D consciousness and the new earth, more and more people are going to be having their own experiences with these beings. And I believe that those of you in this collective, you either just have an affinity for these kinds of beings, they really speak to you, their energy speaks to you, their energy lights you up, or you will be experiencing them in the coming like months and years. So There's also earth-based animals. So it's not just the fantasy. So this ties in again with you being comfortable with kind of cosmic ideas, but also very earth connected. You are very connected to Gaia. And some of the animals that came through when I was channeling about this frequency were some land animals or some earth-based animals too, connected to the land, earth, sky, and water. So the land animals associated with this frequency are the ermine and the horse. So the ermine, if you're not familiar, I wasn't really familiar. I had to look into this animal. But they're basically like, they're related to the weasel, okay? But they're really adorable, which again aligns with that whole inner child kind of energy. They very much are like an animal personification of the inner child. So they're really cute. They're white. Well, they're white in the winter time. So they're brown in the summer, spring and summer, but their coat changes to white in the winter. And I very much align with like this energy that's like really cold and fresh, and like my birthday's actually today. I was going to say I'm a winter baby, and yay, my birthday's actually on New Year's Eve. And so I love this animal, and he came through just a couple of months ago, and the ermine is just super playful and very energetic and moves very quickly and kind of like a zigzag pattern, kind of like kids, you know, just very random and free. And that's also why the horse is one of the animals representing this frequency, because they represent freedom and also strength, because we're going to need a lot of strength to embody this frequency, mainly because it's so different. And I don't remember now if I really touched on this. I mentioned it earlier in the video, but the strength that it takes to be different in this world, and especially at this time when so many people are caught up in fear and anxiety, to show up and be optimistic about the future is to be very different. I mean, I don't know about you, but like the people in my everyday life for the most part aren't feeling super positive about not only the way things are right now, but for the future. And to show up and be hopeful and joyful and just like loving life and enjoying life. And again, like I said, we're all going to embody this frequency differently. And I feel like that's just something that we need to see unfold. But the main point is just to kind of resonate with this energy and this belief, like I mentioned earlier, that love and joy can create magic in this world and make a difference and create change. So the sky animals are birds. So birds of any kind. I mentioned this in some other videos that birds have been huge spirit guides for me on my spiritual journey. And so they're coming through here as well. So birds of all kinds, and especially because we are sort of like messengers bringing these qualities of like hope and excitement and like messages from spirit about where we're going. And so there's kind of different ways that birds are coming through as like messengers for us, like bringing messages from spirit for us on our journey. And if that's not something that you are super practiced with, it's something that you absolutely have open to you. So, you know, being a channeler yourself, receiving messages directly from spirit is absolutely something that you will be able to do if you're not doing already. So messages are birds being symbols of your connection as a messenger, but also us being messengers, just going out into the world and kind of sharing these ideas in whatever way we do. It doesn't have to be necessarily an overt way, but just however we show up in our higher vibration, we are basically messengers delivering this frequency. And then the water animals. So this is going to get weird again, okay? So again, this was totally channeled. But the animal that came through to represent water for us is the whale. So I have been receiving messages about this for months now. And what I'm understanding is that we are pulling this frequency into our own vessels and then anchoring this frequency into Mother Earth. And it is reaching the oceans and then whales. And if you know anything about whales, they communicate through frequency. And whales are ancient beings who are deeply connected with Mother Earth. And the whales are taking this frequency and basically sending it to the core of Mother Earth. And this is just assisting with Mother Earth's ascension. And as she ascends, that is affecting us because we are part of Earth. And so we're all just kind of working together. This is very much a co-creative process. And we're sharing this frequency with Mother Earth through the whales. So you may be seeing more like synchronicities and signs with the whale coming to you this year. I would love to hear about that if that's the case for you, or if maybe you already have been like just feeling really connected to whales. So I thought that was pretty wild. We're also embodying this frequency. So I mentioned earlier that we're an anchor for this frequency. So our connection with Mother Earth in that way. But we're also embodying the frequency ourselves in the way that we show up with others, with other people. And, you know, we are pioneers of the new earth, and to create a world that we want to see, peace and harmony, and where unity consciousness drives our decisions, like, you know, putting people over profits, where we take care of our beautiful planet, and where we experience freedom and wonder and magic and joy as regular like occurrences. This is something, again, that is so missing in our world today. In order to create that, we need to be bringing this joy frequency to the world. And like I said, there's so many ways that we can do this. It's going to be unique to each of us, how we show up with this frequency. And I have a feeling that's something else I'll be talking about throughout 2026. Yeah, so I was just peeking at my notes. I think I've pretty much covered what I wanted to share about this frequency. And, you know, this is what you came here to do. You came here to be a joy bringer, basically. And if this is resonating with you, and you know that you are here to elevate the consciousness on the planet and play a role in creating the new earth, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and become a part of this community that I'm calling the Joy Club. And this is, the name of my channel is actually something that Spirit gave me back in August. And I didn't really know why at the time. They wanted me to call it the Joy Club, but I think now that I've received all these messages about this frequency, it makes sense now. And I'm super excited about this. And you know, we're a collective of light workers who came to be part of this shift in consciousness. And we're doing that by spreading joy, basically. So leave me a comment and let me know if this is resonating with you. If you see yourself in this collective, I would love to know. I'd love to know where you're from, or whatever you want to share, whatever thoughts you want to share about this. I would love to get to know you, and I'm super excited for 2026 and where we go from here. Happy New Year to you. I hope you're doing really well, and I hope you're as excited about the times ahead as I am. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you really soon. Bye.